his get off. He looks like he's more confident in it, obviously. And we noticed that as well, and we've been seeing that watching Logan Thomas. Another guy that was coming, it's a year removed now from having had knee surgery. So I feel very good about what we're seeing from our guys.
A little bit curious on the air quality right
yes.
now. What kind of things did you guys look at? Did you think about going inside?
Yeah.
Is it an issue? And
no, it's not an issue right now. We looked at what's called the AQI, the Air Quality Index, and right now it is orange, which is there is some concern. We reached out to our doctors, our medical personnel, and asked about what our options are as far as practicing today and tomorrow, and probably in our last one next week as well. We'll probably have to continue to monitor it. But the big thing that we've seen is that the number is not in an area where it's really considered dangerous. 200 is what's considered bad from what I've been explained. And so we're obviously looking at that. We're going to talk to the players before we go out there and tell anybody that has respiratory concerns. Obviously we would excuse, or if they start feeling any issue during workout, we'll send them inside. And then we'll have to consider tomorrow potentially going inside the bubble to practice, which if we can avoid it, we will. But if not, if the air quality becomes a little too concerning, then we most certainly will go in. But we've looked at it. We've talked to the medical personnel. And as of right now, we're okay. Again, the only concern we would have for anybody is that anybody that does have a respiratory concerns like asthma or something.
Should you have to go into the bubble tomorrow, it's one thing to do it in season with 53 guys, but with this many people, how much of limitations, how much does that limit what you guys can do?
It would probably limit some of the things in terms of having to share this field and split it. We would probably have to limit some of the other drills that we have and really just get to the meat of the practice as soon as we're properly warmed up and ready to go.
And as far as Cole Turner goes, obviously it looks like he's having another good year. He told us yesterday that he actually, I guess, the hamstring injury was maybe even worse than we had realized. How much difference are you seeing from him? Does he look even better now than he was at this point last year with the strengthening his hamstring, losing some body fat, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Cole, more so than anything else, obviously last year was that the injury was a major setback, and it did take a little bit longer to heal up. And so the hard part for it was we really didn't get to see a guy, that had a lot of potential coming in for us. What we have seen, obviously, has been he's had a great spring. He's been here almost the entire offseason on a voluntary basis, doing the things that he needs to do and develop. One thing, as you've seen, is he's got a really good grasp of the offense so far. He's still learning it, but he's learning it quickly and doing the things that we need to have him do to be able to help us go forward.
And sorry, just one more on Cole with regards to like a young guy who he played last year, but was still learning. How do you know? At what point do you typically think you can tell this guy is ready to go to another level? When we're planning for the season, we know this guy we can give him more than maybe you're even thinking now.
I think a lot of it has to do with is them showing us what they've learned, what they're doing out on the field, and part of it too is in this offense with what Eric's doing with players is being able to play more than just one spot. In terms of the skill guys, for the tight ends, there's the Y, there's the U, or the F, depending on how you want to look at it. There's like about 4 or 5 different tight end positions. That and having him be able to play one and go to the other and play it as well, I think that's the thing that we're looking at.
Hey, Ron, you guys have been almost exclusively working on pass game stuff, very little run action, especially in the team drills. What's the calculation on going that heavy in one phase of the game this time of year, both offensively and defensively?
Well, 2 things. Mostly on the offensive side is getting the throws for the quarterbacks more than anything else. This is a precision offense. A lot of it has to do with timing and accuracy. Putting the ball where it needs to be thrown. And then quite honestly, secondly, is one thing is that, and sitting out and talking with the coaches, that if we limit the run game right now, when we're actually doing some of the competitive stuff, it's going to limit the collisions. And so, we got whacked last year, lost a couple of practices and stuff, and, we're trying to limit those collisions. And it's one of the things that we got to constantly remind our guys is that we're not asking them to compete for the ball right now. And so just trying to be careful with them.
And then, I mean, obviously with your defensive background, like run fits are complicated, they are intricate. So how much are you able to do this week with the walkthroughs and also in the meeting rooms?
Well, what we've been doing, I don't know if you guys have noticed, is we're on 2 separate fields, and one of the things that we've done this year is we've focused more on stuff like that in terms of the defense giving each other the looks and the defense each working on the run fits as a group, as opposed to coming in and trying to do it while we're doing a team run drill. So we've gotten away from that in terms of the live practice action to just using that for the installation and walkthrough stuff. We've made a concerted effort in terms of what we've done is we do more individual, more group, and we haven't done as much team in terms of that stuff. But what we've taken, when we do the team, it has been a high concentration of pass.
For pass rushers like Montez and Chase, we're talking about finishing better. Where does that how does a pass rusher get there? I know, like, bringing down the quarterback, but what are the steps that kind of need to happen? Like, what do the best pass rushers in this game do that?
They get to the quarterback. And again, not necessarily getting him down as much as impacting the play. Forcing the quarterback to throw the ball sooner than he wants to, throwing the ball away, tucking it and running. That's more the finishing. A lot of times, instead of just, hey, winning, but then getting washed by, that's not effective enough, because all the quarterback does is step up and throw the ball or get a little more deeper and throw the ball. And so then when they talk about finishing, that's getting to the quarterback, impacting the quarterback, getting him to move and impacting the play.
And with kind of how dominant Jonathan and Duran are, what would it do for this defense to have edge rushers that consistently get to the quarterback all the time?
Well, I think the biggest thing obviously is it's going to do one of 2 things. Is they're going to accumulate the sacks. Last year we were pretty good on third downs, and we really took a huge jump, and Jack and the staff did a hell of a job. But add one more element to it, and now it does impact the games even more so for us, and creates even more opportunities to have won, to win a few more games.
Forbes had a couple strong reps yesterday. Has he kind of risen to that level that you expected, and especially kind of on that physical front, coming up to the physical level of this league?
Well, I think the biggest thing in terms of just watching him move around more so than anything else, it's what we were hoping for. I mean, we're looking for a guy that can impact the ball when it's being thrown, when it's in the air. And that's who he was in college, and that's what he's showing us so far. So it's been pretty exciting, and we're feeling really good about it so far. Obviously there is the physical nature of the game that we'll have to watch once we get the pads on. But as of right now, everything else he's done is done exactly what we saw. He is a ball hawk. He does time it out very well. Does put himself in position. And he's working against some of the best route runners right now in the league, and that's kind of neat to watch. This young man grow already. So it's been a very good off season with him so far. I believe it's only 2.5 weeks that we've had him, but it's been good to watch.
Ron, the last couple of years, you've had a template for how to win games. Pretty typically, you run the ball a lot, play pretty good defense, and don't turn the ball over. Do you anticipate you can win games maybe in different ways going forward with Eric here and with some of the defensive improvements as well?
I believe so. I think one of the things that, with what we want to do offensively, and again, feeling pretty good about the quarterback position. I mean, not that we didn't feel good about it, back then, but these are guys with a little different dimension. And if we, if it is true and they do come through and do play the way that we hope that they can play, we believe they can play. With some of the things that we're doing on the offensive side, it most certainly could change and impact us in a positive fashion. I think some of the stuff that sitting down and listening to Eric talk about it, the excitement in which he talks about it is great. But to listen to the strategy side of it and how he wants to attack and the way he wants to attack and the way he wants to use the throws and the way he wants to use the runs, there is some opportunities for us, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Hey, Ron, I know in OTAs you talked about that depth and youth being infused into the offensive line this offseason. What did you see from them in the first day of minicamp here yesterday, especially with Leno being back out there?
Well, I thought it was really good. I really did. The nice thing is the depth is showing itself right now, and that's a huge plus for us because as far as the depth is concerned, while Charles was out, Cornelius Lucas, who has started for us, in all 3 years he's been here with us, just stepped in and did the job that we know he's capable of. And if he has to become a starter again, he would come in and help us just like he has. So we feel good about that. What I've really enjoyed seeing is some of the younger guys that have gotten more opportunities. We've put Sam Cosme in one position, and we've left him at that at right guard, and he seems to really settle in really nicely working alongside Andrew. That was kind of cool to watch. And then looking at the left guard position, Sadiq has really done a nice job, but Chris Paul is really just nipping at the heels of all of our offensive linemen, because one thing we found about Chris is that he has got great position flex. He's shown that he can play both guard positions, and we believe so. And there's some questions of whether he can do tackle. I mean, it's something we're going to look at once we get into the pads in the summer and see if he's capable of that as well. So that's another huge plus. Then watching some of the depth things that we have going on at center. That's been another nice spot. We brought in Trenton Scott as far as another tackle backup, a guy that can help us in those situations. We drafted Braden because of that. We drafted Ricky because of that. We got Tyler, who's coming off the injury, who last year as our starting center, he was 6-1-1. So we feel good about the depth right now, and we got to get through it, stay healthy, obviously, and we think we're doing some things the right way.
Can you get a good sense of where your offensive line is at, even though you're not running the ball, even though you're not going live a ton?
Yeah, I think so. As far as right now, they're going in the right direction. I mean, that's probably the biggest things we see is, and on the limited times when we are running the ball, because we do have some RPO stuff, and so the ball has been handed off a couple times. You do see some of the creases. You see that they've made those holes. But as far as the run game is concerned, we're not quite there yet with that as far as knowing. But the pass protection is pretty good. We did some blitz stuff the other day, and watching those guys communicate and pass off the blitzers was pretty good. And so there's, they're most certainly are headed in the right direction.
Over the last 2 years, because of injuries or lack of discipline, you haven't always had those 4 first-round picks on the defensive line playing up to maybe their potential. Do you think that this year they could do that, and if so, why?
I think so. I think if everything comes together, and it's not necessarily just been putting it on the D line, but part of it has to do with some of the coverage stuff that we struggled with. But that seemed to really straighten itself out last year. I think Jack and the defense staff have done a really nice job with that stuff. With mixing up some of the coverages with some of the pressures. And then the development of some of the other younger players, especially the younger defensive backs. I mean, Defoe stepping up the way he has. Cam continues to play like a solid veteran for us and productive guy. You got Kendall out there who did some really good things for us last year. And, if we can keep Benjamin on the field, who really showed that he has the potential to be a real physical corner for us, and then add on those young guys, I think that can be something that can really help, the front as well.
Can Eric Bieniemy be an asset in terms of helping out the offensive line too, and maybe improving their play via his schemes or play calling?
Oh, most certainly. I think one of the things that is interesting is a lot of the stuff is being put on the quarterback and the center immediately. There's a lot of things that Eric has in terms of tools for the quarterback to ID and identify things, and so it'll be up to them to make sure they're communicating. That's one of the things that Sam and Jacoby and Jake, for the most part, all three of those guys have really picked up very quickly is how to help identify stuff for the offensive line, and then also having the tools of being able to audible into something quicker to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands sooner. So there's a lot of positives that Eric has really been instilling in these guys, and they've seemed to have grasped it pretty well.
Last one. Yeah, we chatted with Sam Cosme yesterday. He said he went to you and said, whatever position you need me to play, I'll do it. How relieving is that as a coach? I bet you've been on the other side of those conversations.
Well, it was really good just because of the fact that, knowing that he was up to it and whether it was at tackle or guard, he was more than willing to play either spot. And what it did was it really helped us in terms of going out and getting, see if we can get Andrew, knowing that Andrew would come in and be able to play the right tackle position. Nice thing about Andrew, though, is he could play either side as well as guard. But knowing that Sam was, up to it, and we just feel with Sam's athleticism, as a guard, it would be a real big plus for us. So it's been good for him. I know it's been good for him because you can see it on tape. And also just developing the rapport with one guy right now has been, I think, also another thing that's helped him. All right, cool. Thank you, guys.